In just a minute, we're going to have a great, we're going to have a great discussion about what's going on in Congress, but first I have the privilege of introducing our keynote speaker who knows a little bit about Washington himself. As director of the U.S. Office of Personnel Management, John Barry is the highest-ranking openly LGBT presidential appointee in history. Applause. He's outspoken about the need for the federal government to treat LGBT employees fairly, and he's urged Congress to act on legislation such as inclusive ENDA and the repeal, please, of DOMA. Or we're shutting down the gay TMs. Do you know what I'm saying? Anyway, last summer, Director Barry did this wonderful, wonderful thing. As many of you know, Dr. Frank Kameny was fired for his federal government job in 1957 because he was gay. And that started a lifelong dedication to reversing discriminatory laws and regulations that targeted LGBT Americans. Dr. Kameny led some of the first pro-LGBT demonstrations against the federal government in front of the White House, years before the Stonewall riots. On June 29th of this year, 42 years later, Director Barry formally apologized to Dr. Kameny on behalf of the U.S. government and presented him with a Theodore Roosevelt Award in a public presentation at the department. I am happy he's here today. Please join me in welcoming Dr. John Barry.
Thank you. Thank you. Please. Let's see if you're standing at the end. That's what I'm shooting for, all right? Kate, you're a tough act to follow, man. Thank you so much for your kind and warm introduction. Thank all of you for having me here. It is such an honor to be here with each of you today. And it's been great catching up with some old friends. I met someone this morning I worked with on the Appropriations Committee 25 years ago. He's now a city council member here in California. Dave, where are you, Dave? There he is. Dave, thanks for being here. It's so great, Dave Roberts. It is the thrill of my life to be here with two longtime giants in our community, Congresswoman Tammy Baldwin and a new superstar hitter, Congressman Jared Polis from Colorado. Thank you both for being here. Chuck, for your leadership, for your integrity, for your passion, God bless you. Keep it up, man. Keep it up. Chuck is incredible. The guy sitting next to him doesn't get, much limelight, but this thing couldn't have happened without Dennis Dyson. Dennis, thank you for your leadership. Couple more, and then we'll get to the meat of the speech. I apologize. Google, which is paying for and sponsoring this event, it has been wonderful. I'll tell you, I've gotten to know the head of people resources at Google, Laszlo Bach, and we have worked together really well. I got to visit there when I was last out here, and I went down and visited the Googleplex. And we were trying to get good ideas, Tammy and Jared, for what we could do for federal employees. And as we're going through their cafeteria, it was Lobster Friday. And I said, some of this transfers, some of it ain't going to work. Then as we walked past the tennis courts and the swimming pool, I thought, boy, Laszlo, can we get to something I might be able to actually use? So no, it was great. They have been wonderful to work with. They are a visionary employer in the United States right now, and one of the true leaders on people practices. And it has been an honor to work with them, and their insights have been incredible in helping us forge a major reform initiative that the President and I hope to be launching in the spring of next year. Lastly, and certainly not least, is the Gay and Lesbian Leadership Institute, which is hosting this today. Without their support and their help, many of you in this room know, without the training and the connections that they have provided you over the years, we wouldn't be where we are today in this country. So my hat's off to Chuck and to the entire GLLI. So thank you for inviting me and being here today. This is a dedicated and distinguished group of leaders and longtime committed public servants, and I thank each and every one of you for what you are doing. One of the best things about my job is I get to interact with a lot of young workers. And one thing I notice, and that all of you know, young people today expect equality in the workplace. They expect discrimination against LGBT Americans to be a thing of the past. They expect domestic partner benefits to be given. And it doesn't matter if they're gay or straight. They just expect equality. But expecting it doesn't make it happen. And everyone in this room knows that we, as a country, are not there yet. Throughout much of our history, the federal government was a model and progressive employer. But in the last few decades, sadly, we have ceded that mantle of leadership. Well, I'm here to tell you that President Obama wants to take it back and do a whole lot more. The struggle that started at Stonewall is perhaps America's latest great civil rights movement, and the president is just as determined as we are to bring it to fruition. Now, I know there's been some frustration out there, but we've got a lot of progress to report. It started with appointees. I'm only one of over 100 LGBT appointees so far in this administration, including a record 18 who have to be confirmed by the Senate of the United States so far. 11 months in. 11 months in, we are already well on our way to surpassing the number of LGBT appointees named during the entire 8 years of the Clinton administration. And we're present throughout the government, chairing the Council on Environmental Quality, the Export-Import Bank, confirmed and sworn in yesterday as an ambassador to New Zealand, serving as a United States attorney and as high-level assistance to the president, nominations for the federal bench, and a United States Marshal. And the president didn't just name these people because they were LGBT. He named them because they're the best, most qualified people for these jobs. And we've also been accomplishing a lot through executive actions. The repeal of the discriminatory HIV travel ban will take effect next month. I at OPM have spearheaded an implementation of the presidential memorandum signed in June, directing all federal agencies to extend employment benefits to domestic partners to the full extent permitted by current law, while we work in parallel to enact the legislation that Congresswoman Baldwin has introduced in the House. There's going to be more to come on that in the very near future, and it's going to be very good, and I think you're going to be very pleased. In October, HHS Secretary Kathleen Sebelius established a new first-of-its-kind National Resource Center for older LGBT Americans, following up on a grant to an LGBT Aging Services program that was awarded earlier in the fall. Secretary Donovan at HUD announced a set of proposals to ensure that America's core housing programs are available to all, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. At Commerce, the Census Bureau is working to ensure LGBT couples are counted fairly and accurately in the census and on ways to improve inclusion in annual surveys. And last summer, the President of the United States awarded our nation's highest civilian honor, the Medal of Freedom, to Harvey Milk and to Billie Jean King.